But with the wind and the rain, sounds like you might want to be cutting those sunflowers and putting them in a vase inside if you want to enjoy them.
Yeah, unfortunately we have one more nice day coming up, but then things start to get hairy once we get into the weekend thanks to Hurricane Lee. The good news is that it's not going to be a catastrophic storm, but we are going to have some impacts with some wind and rain. I'll get to that in just a minute. But first, today ended up being a pretty nice fall day, especially in the afternoon. We got to see plenty of sunshine after a cold front moved through and gave us some rain yesterday. And we're going to be able to stay dry through the rest of the night tonight and into tomorrow as well. It's once we get to Saturday, that's where we start to see some changes. Overnight tonight, though, it's going to be a little bit of a cooler night, some 40s inland near the mountains and some lower 50s along the coastline. This is about average for this time of year, but last week and into this week as well, we were seeing nights that were well above average, excuse me. So overall, a pretty normal night, but it might feel a little bit cooler. Though for Friday, we're going to start seeing our first changes because of Hurricane Lee, but you see these kinds of banded clouds going across the map here. These are clouds from Lee, so we're not going to see any precipitation on Friday, but we will see those kind of banded clouding structures. Now, once we get into Saturday early morning, this model has the first bands of rain from Lee coming in at around Saturday at 1 a.m. Now, the heaviest rain is going to set up over down East Maine. So the further west you are, the less rain you're going to see, as well as some lower wind gusts as well. But we are expecting a fair amount of rain, and because the soil is so saturated, we are expecting it to exceed flash flood guidance in some places, so there will be some localized flooding, and because of those high wind gusts, we could see some downed trees causing power outages as well. Now, the good news is that this storm is fast. By the time we get into Sunday, thin clouds and rain will already be out of our area, which is good news because then it gives us time to clean up after the storm. So at this point, Hurricane Lee is just to the west of Bermuda, and it's starting to become a larger storm, but because of that, it's also becoming weaker. So as it gets closer and closer to Maine, it's going to get into much colder water, and hurricanes in colder water can't sustain themselves very well. So by the time it makes landfall, likely near Canada or Nova Scotia, it's going to be in the tropical storm guidance instead of hurricane guidance. Now, this cone here shows where the center of the storm could be, but we are going to see impacts beyond this cone as well. So in terms of the highest wind gusts we're looking at, it's about 40 to 60 miles per hour, which will cause some downed trees, but isn't going to be catastrophic. In fact, it's below hurricane guidance. But something that we are going to see is wave heights, especially off the coast of down east, could see waves between 15 to 20 feet. So we could see some rip currents as well as high surf. So you're going to want to be very, very careful around the water. So the National Weather Service has issued a tropical storm warning for the coastline and inland down east, as well as a coastal flood warning for the coast of down east, where we're expected to see the most rain. Now, the impacts from Lee are definitely going to be high surf, rip currents, and beach erosion. That's going to be all along the coast. In terms of rain and wind, the farther east you are is going to be more impacts from that. So I think a good way to summarize it is the impacts are similar to a strong and wet nor'easter, with power outages and localized flooding possible. But currently the marine forecast has seas 5 to 8 feet and the water is 66 degrees. So we get one more day to prepare for the storm tomorrow, and then the impacts of Lee are mostly going to be seen on Saturday. And then as we get into Sunday, things clear out relatively quickly, which gives us time to recover. So Zach, this is a storm that's going to be strong. It's going to have power outages possibly for a couple of days, but we want to prepare for this, but we don't want to panic about it.
Absolutely, and our team has it covered throughout the weekend. Dana, thanks so much.
Absolutely.